What's going on, 49er faithful? You are tuned in to Keeping the Faith. I'm JD, and yes, this is a 3-0 victory Monday here on the channel. But, you know, I guess we can't have nice things all the time because we got the bad news today. I'm sure you've all seen it by this time that the San Francisco 49ers have officially lost star edge rusher, former defensive player of the year, multi-time All-Pro and Pro Bowler Nick Bosa for the year with a torn ACL in his right knee. An absolute gut punch after what has been quite the start to the 49ers 2025 season. And I'm sorry that I haven't been around much at the start of this year. I dropped some stuff before the Seattle game. I've dropped a couple of things in the aftermath of that Week 1 victory up in Seattle. But on my way back from Seattle, because you guys know if you've been watching the channel that I made my way up to Lumen Field, or as I like to call it, Levi's North, for that Week 1 game. And I guess, as it turns out, I'm allergic to all things Seattle. Because as soon as I returned back home from that trip, I caught some kind of a virus, some kind of a bug, man, and it put me on my ass for the last couple of weeks. And it was brutal. It was rough, but I'm starting to feel better. I was feeling good coming into this weekend, for this Arizona game, and we get the news today, and I'm sick to my stomach all over again. So just when I'm starting to finally feel better after whatever virus I got from Seattle, now I get a punch to the gut, and I'm feeling nauseous and sick to my stomach all over again over this Nick Bosa news. But look, the team's 3-0. It could be worse, right? This team could be 0-3 or 1-2, whatever. They're 3-0. So they've given themselves a little bit of leeway, a little bit of cushion to try and help absorb this news. Now, is it good news? Obviously not. Is Nick Bosa going to be missed on this defense? You're damn well right that he will be missed. It is a brutal blow to a young 49ers defense who really had been, a bright spot early on in this season. And this team was going to depend on Nick Bosa to help lead this young group throughout the course of the year. But like this team has been doing since Week 1, because there have been injuries all over this roster dating back to training camp and the OTAs and the offseason program, it's next man up for this 49ers team. But it doesn't mean that this news does not hurt in a big way. But let me say what's up to all my 49ers fans who are checking out the show live here, as we are live here on this Monday, September 22nd. So if you are here in the chat and you're here checking the show out live, drop your ones. Let me see who's here so I can say what's up to everybody. My apologies, guys. I know I haven't been around much, but like I told you, I think I'm like legitimately allergic to the city of Seattle. You guys know how I feel about that place and those fans and everything, but I really think I'm actually allergic to that place because, man, I caught something vicious on my flight back from Seattle. It's been brutal, but we're back and we're good, at least as good as we can be, given the news that we received today. But let me see who's here, and I want to say what's up to you guys. It's been a while, so I appreciate you guys for tuning in. 49ers faithful forever dropping his ones. I see you. Thank you for tuning in, my guy. Niner Nation in the chat dropping his ones. Much appreciated. 49er faithful forever says, let's see how the defense responds. Still a few weeks to make a splash move if need be. We will get into that. Absolutely, we will get into that. I have some thoughts on where this team may go from here, where they should go from here, my personal take on the matter. But I wanted to get into this Nick Bosa thing because this is the third time that Nick Bosa has torn an ACL. It's the second time he's done it in the right knee. He tore it his senior year of high school in 2015. It was a partial tear that required surgery. Then he tore the ACL in his left knee 5 years later in September of 2020. We all remember the nightmare that was the 2020 season, and specifically that game up in New York against the Giants when several players dropped like flies, including Nick Bosa, who tore his ACL in his left knee in that game. And then here we are another 5 years later, and Bosa has torn the ACL in his right knee for a second time. So it seems to come in 5 year increments: 2015, 2020, 2025. So maybe the next time he tears an ACL, it'll be 2030. Let's hope not, obviously, but man, look, he tore the ACL, the same one back in high school, and he has torn the same one again. The only positive news coming out of this, coming from Kyle Shanahan, is that the ACL tear was as clean as it could possibly be. There is no other damage to the knee. You know, when you think knee damage and whatnot, you think about Brandon Ayuk and what he has gone through since blowing up his knee last year with ligament damage all throughout his knee, not just the ACL. Luckily for Nick Bosa, the only damage is to his ACL, and that's it. No other ligament damage, no cartilage damage. It's just a clean ACL tear, if there is such a thing. So that's, I guess, on one hand, if it's going to happen, at least there is no collateral damage. At least there's nothing else wrong with the knee. It is just the ACL. And we all know that Nick Bosa, out of anyone, will be able to rehab and bounce back and get back to his old self, because he's done it twice before. This is not new for Nick Bosa. So going into 2026, I fully expect Nick Bosa to make a full recovery and be ready to go come week one. I guess if you're going to tear your ACL, you want to do it as early in the season as possible, because it gives you as much time as possible to rehab and get yourself right for the start of the following year. And so, look, you got to find the positives in this where you can. And with the ACL tear being clean and with it being so early, I fully expect Nick Bosa to be ready to go for the 2026 season. And like I mentioned, Nick Bosa is an absolute animal when it comes to his body and his health and taking care of himself and staying in great shape. He knows how to take care of his body. He knows how to rehab from these sorts of injuries. So as far as like moving forward, is Nick Bosa a spring chicken? Is he 21, 22 years old anymore? No. But at the same time, I fully expect Nick Bosa to return to as much of his former self as he can heading into the 2026 season. It's still a bummer, though. It's a bummer. It sucks. I mean, what a win by the 49ers yesterday against the Arizona Cardinals. One of the more gritty wins in the Kyle Shanahan era. This team is fighting, scratching, and clawing every single week and finding different ways to win games late in the fourth quarter. And it has been a very inspiring start to the year. So to have this happen to one of your most important players, I mean, you can't sugarcoat it. It's awful. It sucks. It's terrible. And we were all optimistic that Nick Bosa was going to be okay, because when the injury occurred, you couldn't even really tell. You couldn't tell which knee it was when he was walking off of the field. But he did give the thumbs down up to someone in the crowd that he knew, family member, and that made you think, okay, Nick's been through this before. He knows. He knows his body. He knows these types of injuries. And when he gave that thumbs down, I knew what it was. Because Nick Bosa, he's been through it. He knows it. As soon as it happened, I'm sure he knew. Now, of course, I was holding out hope, just like everyone else, that the injury wasn't as severe as it turned out to be. Kyle Shanahan even said as much, that the initial on-field testing made it appear as though the ACL was intact, but they couldn't rule it out. And, of course, as it turned out on Monday, we got the definitive news that Nick Bosa did, in fact, tear the ACL in his right knee, and he is lost for the 2025 season. Absolute just gut punch after what had been a really great start to the year from Nick Bosa. He was having a borderline DPOY Defensive Player of the Year performance to begin the 2025 campaign. He was an animal out there. The best player on the field for the 49ers defense, and it wasn't even close. Well, I mean, you can make the case for Fred Warner, but Nick Bosa was having a hell of a start to the season, and Nick Bosa was doing things that people had criticized him for in seasons past. People wanted to see Nick Bosa close out games in the fourth quarter, become that late game dominant force, that kind of a player who, would earn wins for his team on his own with game-changing plays late in games to close them out, and he'd been doing that. Up in Seattle week 1, he gets the strip sack on Sam Darnold, wins the game for the 49ers in week 1. Week 2, has a sack late in the fourth quarter against the Saints. Potentially would have been a game-winning play. But then, we know on the 49ers' next defensive possession, Bryce Huff ultimately forced a strip sack of his own to win the game. But Bosa was making fourth quarter, late in game, just game-altering plays, and he was wrecking shop out there. And this 49ers defense was really playing some inspired football with a ton of young players around Nick Bosa, and Bosa was taking these guys under his wing and had these guys playing, and they were just fitting together so well. The combination of the power of Nick Bosa on one side, the speed of Bryce Huff on the other, was giving opposing offenses fits. Not to mention Mykel Williams out on the other edge at times, setting the edge, stopping the run, and then rotating inside on passing situations and just completely wreaking havoc. The Niners defense was looking like it was, had the potential to be a really special unit this year when it's all said and done. But here we are, 3 games into the year, so many injuries all over this team, and the hits just keep coming. And it's brutal. It makes you think, man, what the hell's next? Who's next? Because it's not a matter of if anyone else is going to get hurt. It is when someone else is going to get hurt. It's football. But, man, we've all talked about it. Niners fans, content creators, the media, people around this team have talked about it for years. Like, why is this team so snake-bitten by injuries? And I've talked about it over the years on this channel and on different platforms and whatnot, and I've always credited it to the style of player that the 49ers like to go after. They sacrifice size for more athletic, speedier players, guys who can, be explosive out there in exchange, for bigger size, guys who can maybe withstand the beating of an NFL season a little better. But look, who knows, man? They've changed the training staff on this team so many times. They've tried so many different things, different practice habits, different routines, different personnel, and it just every single year, this team is one of the most injured teams in all of football, year in, year out. It never fails, and it just sucks. It's brutal. Just thinking about it makes me mad. It just upsets me. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. So losing Nick Bosa after a 3-0 start to the year and one of the most gritty regular season wins in the Kyle Shanahan era, it's Victory Monday, but it doesn't really feel like it. I'll be honest with you. It just put a total dark cloud over this Victory Monday. How are you guys feeling, man? I know, like I said, it's been a while since I've been on. I apologize, guys. Like I said, I caught one heck of a bug coming back from Seattle. But we're good to go now as much as we can be. I'm actually still not all the way back, but I'm as back as I can be. I'm good right now. I see Gail in the chat saying that's a nice hat. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I see Niner JTV checking in. He says, gutted, man. Hard to stay positive with this one. When it rains, it pours. SMH. Absolutely. It absolutely pours, man. It's pouring right now. all over Northern California, the Bay Area. It's rough. And where do the Niners go from here? They have another game that they're playing in 6 days. They have to suit up, put the cleats on, and get back on the field this Sunday at home at Levi Stadium against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, look, should the 49ers win that game even without Nick Bosa? Yes, absolutely. The 49ers are still a good enough team to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars without Nick Bosa, not a doubt in my mind. And this team is getting some good news already here this week. Brock Purdy expected to practice this week. By all accounts, should be returning this Sunday as the starting quarterback for the 49ers against Jacksonville. So that's huge. Even though Mac Jones has done a very, very steady job filling in for Brock after Brock sustained toe and shoulder injuries week one. Juwan Jennings, who did not play in Sunday's win against Arizona, is day-to-day with his injuries, but he is listed as day-to-day, so that's encouraging. I would expect Juwan Jennings to be back this Sunday against Jacksonville. Demarcus Robinson, who had been serving his 3-game suspension for a DUI while with the Los Angeles Rams last season, is now officially back with the team and will be out there on Sunday, I'm sure. He had been a standout during the offseason and training camp, and his addition could not come soon enough as the 49ers have dealt with a ton of injuries at the skill position. So getting Demarcus Robinson back is big-time news. And then they traded for Kendrick Bourne. He made some timely grabs on Sunday against the Cardinals. Ricky Pearsall has been an absolute revelation for the 49ers at wide receiver. If you've been watching this channel all offseason, I told you it was coming. I'm not surprised. A lot of people are just so hyped on Ricky Pearsall right now, and my response to that really is, okay, where have you been? Like, I've been talking about this since last season ended. I'm not gonna get too cocky and arrogant about it, but come on, like anyone with a brain and a set of eyes knew what was coming with Ricky Pearsall. I'm not shocked at all. Ricky Pearsall is a very, very good player, and he's doing exactly what I thought he would. I told you guys during the offseason, I did a bold prediction live stream, and I said, look, Pearsall is going to lead this team in receptions and receiving yards this year, and he's done nothing to change my mind on that. So Ricky Pearsall, obviously, balling out of his mind to begin the 2025 season. Look, this team is going to have to play a game on Sunday against Jacksonville. They're going to have to fill Nick Bosa's shoes. And yes, there is no one player that the 49ers have in-house. There is no one player that the 49ers can go acquire that will fill Nick Bosa's shoes on their own. But the Niners are going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to go next man up, whether it's a player in-house. They're going to have to I fully expect them to go out and acquire some sort of talent to help soften the blow of the absence of Nick Bosa. But you're not gonna replace Nick Bosa with one guy. You're not gonna replace him with someone in house. Sure, you have Mykel Williams and Bryce Huff, who will now be your starting edge players on defense under Robert Saleh moving forward. You can absolutely bank on that. You're gonna need Bryce Huff to be more than a part-time player the rest of the season, and Bryce Huff is also going to have to show that he can stop the run consistently. And Mykel Williams, who has been coming on strong every single game, just getting better and better, is going to be thrust into an even bigger role for this team moving forward. I believe he was second on the team in pressures on Sunday. I believe he had 5 pressures against Arizona. He would have had a sack or a safety, but the NFL rule stated that Kyler Murray's arm was not completely in the end zone, so they didn't give it to him. But Mykel Williams has been an absolute animal for this team, and now he's going to get even more playing time, even more reps, even more responsibility, more. There's going to be a lot more on his shoulders moving forward. But fortunately for the 49ers, he's got some big-ass shoulders. And I think Mykel Williams is going to continue to just ascend and get better with each and every passing week. However, I do think the 49ers need to go out and make some sort of an acquisition. And all the talk this offseason has been about saving the cap space, saving your draft picks, looking towards the future. And I totally understand that logic because this team has completely bought in to the soft rebuild, the reloading, getting younger, surrounding Brock Purdy with younger talent that he can grow with. I understand the entire approach and the philosophy change, the philosophy shift that this team has made, and they're completely bought in. Like, these last two draft classes have knocked it out of the park. Think about where this team would be without these last two draft classes. They would be one of the worst teams in football right now without these last two draft classes that they've had. But if you're the 49ers and you're 3-0 right now, what do you do? Do you go out and try and make a big splash or as big of a splash as you can with a trade? Or do you look for someone in-house, kind of do it, by committee to replace Nick Bosa? Maybe you go and get a lower-priced veteran, that maybe a street free agent to help come in and help kind of fill the void a little bit. Well, what do you do if you're the 49ers? And I've been thinking about this all day since the news came down. What should the 49ers do to address the now absence of Nick Bosa for the remainder of the 2025 season? And I think everyone, that is a football fan or a journalist or what have you, anyone who pays attention to the NFL and anyone who pays attention to the 49ers, the first name that you think of with going out and trying to address the edge spot now that Bosa's out, everyone's mind instantly goes to Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals. He had been in a stalemate with his contract negotiations with the team during the offseason. They finally agreed to a reworked 1-year, $30 million deal this season. He has not been happy being in Cincinnati, and he took the reworked deal. He showed up. He's been playing well. He's 30 years old, still a very, very good player, obviously, a very good player. But if you're the 49ers, do you want to take on a 30-year-old edge rusher who is still going to be looking for a brand new, huge contract after this year? Or do you approach it a different way? What do you do if you're the 49ers? And I've been thinking about this all day because, like I said, everyone's first reaction is, okay, go get Trey Hendrickson. And I'm the type of person, I don't like to deal in hypotheticals. I really don't. I like to talk about what's actually happening, what's actually being discussed. What are the real, true rumors that are out there? I don't like to make up pipe dreams and daydream about, oh, we should go get this player and we should go get Max Crosby and we should go get, every great player under the sun. Like, I don't like that. I like dealing in facts and I like dealing in reality. But the more that I've thought about it, and like I said, I'm not the type that usually does this kind of thing. I think going after Trey Hendrickson is actually extremely realistic. Because he and the Bengals are not getting along. Yeah, they agreed to a reworked deal, but he was, his feet were dug in the dirt. He did not want to show up until he got some sort of a reworked contract. I'm sure he's not happy about being on a 1-year deal. And now that Joe Burrow is out for the Cincinnati Bengals, I mean, let's be realistic. Their season's a wrap. Jake Browning is a nice backup, but their season's done. And if I'm Trey Hendrickson in my age 30 season, I want to go to a team that has a chance to do something this year. And the 3-0 San Francisco 49ers not only have a great opportunity for him to come in and play all year now that Nick Bosa is out, they're 3-0. They are right in the thick of everything that they want to do this year. And if you're the 49ers and you want to make a big swing and go after Trey Hendrickson, look, he has a $30 million contract this year, $30 million cap hit. But I would imagine that the Cincinnati Bengals would be willing to pay a portion of that deal to get all that money off of their books, especially now knowing that Joe Burrow's probably out until December and their season's basically done. And we all know that the Cincinnati Bengals like to be cheap anyway. So if they can save some money and get some draft picks, I don't think Trey Hendrickson is unrealistic at all. And like I said, I'm not the type that talks about every big name player that may or may not be available and comes up with hypotheticals and all that. I hate that stuff. I really do. But the more that I think about this, I don't think it's actually out of the question at all. Because I think the Cincinnati Bengals are in a position where they know they're not going to win anything. And they're going to lose Trey Hendrickson at the end of this season anyway. They're not going to pay him. They know they're not going to pay him. And if I'm Trey Hendrickson, I want to go somewhere where I have a chance to win. And let's say the Niners acquire Trey Hendrickson and they don't even have to give him a new contract. They can let him play out the rest of his deal this year. And when he leaves in free agency, they would get a comp pick for him. So if I'm the 49ers, I say, hey, Cincinnati, we'll give you a second-round pick this year and a third-round pick next year because we all know they have a million comp picks every single year. Give them a second and a third and go get Trey Hendrickson. And the reason that I think this is the most, like, what am I trying to say? The reason I think the 49ers should do this over everything other than just the pure need of going to get an edge to replace Nick Bosa, you're not guaranteed to have Robert Saleh beyond this season. The 49ers are 3-0 largely because of the coaching of Robert Saleh as he has been coaching along this young defense who has gotten off to a very, very impressive start. And Robert Saleh could be in line for another head coaching job after this year. So you're 3-0. You have a very, very favorable schedule. And you have Robert Saleh, who more likely than not is gone after this year. Let's be realistic about that. I want Robert Saleh to be here for as long as possible. But looking at it objectively, Robert Saleh is going to get a chance to be a head coach on a team next year. So you have Robert Saleh basically on a one-year deal. You are 3-0 right now. Everything that you want is still on the table. Just because you lost Nick Bosa does not mean that the season's over. It does not mean that, everything is just kind of a wash from here or a wrap from here. You can still go and do whatever you want to do this year. And just given the fact that Robert Saleh is probably gone after this year, if we're just looking at it objectively, I would go make a move for a guy like Trey Hendrickson. I would. And I don't like talking about hypotheticals. There's not even really a rumor out there that the Niners are interested in Trey Hendrickson. But they're making the phone call. John Lynch has always said, we make all the phone calls. We call on everybody. We leave no stone unturned. So they're calling the Cincinnati Bengals to see about Trey Hendrickson. And I think it's in their best interest to do that. Because you are not guaranteed anything after this season. Saul is probably gone. This team is 3-0 with one of the most favorable schedules in recent memory. Don't punt on the year just because you lost Nick Bosa. Don't, sit on your hands and, feel sorry for yourself. Now is not the time to feel sorry for yourself. This team has to make a move, in my personal opinion. And I want to see them do it. I want to see them go after Trey Hendrickson. Because not only do I think it would be a gettable asset, I think the Niners could get him for a couple mid-round picks. I think the Bengals, like I mentioned, I think that they would be willing to pay a portion of the salary to get all that money off their books. I do. And not only that, Trey Hendrickson, more likely than not, is going to be gone from the Bengals after this year anyway, so I'm sure they want to get something for him. I think the stars are aligning for a move like that. I really do. And I'm usually not the type to go out on a limb like this and kind of reach for the stars, but I really think this is a legitimate possibility that the Niners need to investigate. I really, really feel that way. I've been thinking about it all day long. I really think that is a smart thing for the 49ers to look at. And I see a lot of you guys here in the chat. Let me say what's up. I see a lot of people here. Oh, man. Appreciate all you guys for tuning in, man. Let me get caught up here real quick. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through, guys. Big Brick 84 says, "Yo, JD and Faithful, what up, Big Brick? Thank you for tuning in, my guy. Osmosis says, we'll see if someone steps up for the next couple of weeks. If it's clear we need someone, then we should go grab someone by the trade deadline. And let's see what else. Gail says, I agree. Hendrickson is the only pickup that would make sense, especially with Burrow out. Fazil tuning in. He says, what's up, JD? Gut wrenched about Nick Bosa news. We should go trade for Trey Hendrickson. See, you guys are with me. You guys are feeling me on that. Fazil, we are 3-0. Don't waste this season. We have a solid team, and Saleh is coaching them up. You guys are reading my mind, man. You guys are right there with me. Osmosis says, that's a lot for a rental player. We need the injuries to slow down. Well, speaking of rental players, I mean, look, if Trey Hendrickson is a rental player, remember what the Niners did in 2019 when they traded for Emmanuel Sanders. He was a rental player, but he played a huge role in a team that went to the Super Bowl. So I'm not opposed to rental players, especially when you're 3-0, when you have a lot riding on this year because Robert Saleh is probably gone after this season, more than likely. And, I would like to think Nick Bosa will return to form and still be an effective player moving forward, but that's not promised either. So all this talk about the future, you worry about the future when it comes. This team is 3-0. Like you can't just kind of give up. You have to, attack this season with some enthusiasm and I think swing for the fences. At this point, with how this team is looking, in spite of all the injuries, and this team is going to get guys back. Brandon Ayuk will be back soon. Malik Mustafa will be back soon to add to that defense. Brock Purdy is returning. Jawan Jennings returning. Demarcus Robinson will make his season debut this week. This team is going to look drastically different in just a matter of weeks, and you've already built yourself a 3-0 cushion. And you have a lot of young players who are playing very, very inspired football right now. And you have a lot of veterans on this team. George Kittle will be back in the next handful of weeks. I mean, maybe 3-4 weeks from now. Who knows? I know he'll miss at least the next 2 games, but we'll see how soon he returns after that. This team is still in a position to win this year. And with such a favorable schedule, sure, you can make the argument and say, okay, we don't need, the NFC Pro Bowl roster to have success this year because of the favorable schedule. This team should still be able to win even without, every top 10 player in the world. Yes, I agree with that sentiment. I do. But how many times does your team get a schedule like this? You have the opportunity to not only win the NFC West, which you are at the top of right now, and it's looking like the NFC West is going to end up being the best division in football, at least through the first 3 weeks of the year. This division is stacked right now. Everyone is playing well. But you have a chance to win this division, and you have a chance, based on your favorable schedule, to possibly get a first-round bye. Now, if you get the number 1 seed, does that mean that you are definitively the best team in the NFC if you're the 49ers this year? No, because the schedule is very favorable, and they're not going to be challenged like some other teams are. But you have to take the breaks where you can get them. And this team has some built-in breaks this year with the way the schedule is shaken out. So if I'm the 49ers, I treat this year like a all-in year. You've already invested heavily in young talent. These last 2 drafts have knocked it out of the park. You have the cap space to make moves. This team is going to have these young players playing meaningful football all season long. So that's going to help your future right there. Because these young players are getting a ton of snaps, a ton of reps. They're going to be better for it moving forward as well. But you're also still able to play for the present. And you have a lot of veterans on this team who you need to do right by. George Kittle, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey is not getting younger. Fred Warner is not getting younger. So if I'm the 49ers and you've gotten off to the start that you've gotten off to, you have Robert Saleh, You have to take advantage of it. You have to take advantage of your 3-0 start. You have to take advantage of your schedule. You have to take advantage of having Robert Saleh calling your damn defense, because none of it is guaranteed. Every single year needs to be treated like its own individual entity. Yes, you have an eye towards the future at all times, but this team is in a very, very good spot right now. So I want to see them make a move. And usually I'm more on the conservative side of things. I would want to be more prudent and financially smart moving forward, but I feel like this team is in a spot where they can take a big swing, and I don't think it would bite them. I don't. Let's see what you guys are saying here in the chat. Appreciate everyone for tuning in here on this Monday Night Football getting ready to kick off. So I'll be live for a little bit longer, but I definitely want to catch that game. Corey Lindsay says, JD, salute my guy. What up, Corey? Thank you for tuning in, my man. David Coper tuning in. What up, David? Thank you for tuning in, my friend. Niner JTV. CJ West broke his thumb. Will be interesting if he can play Sunday. Out of nowhere, another injury. Yeah, that's another brutal one. But there's Kyle Shanahan did say that they're holding out hope that he can play with a cast on. But yeah, another injury. I mean, it's brutal. I don't understand it. I don't get it, man. I don't know why this is happening to us every single year. John says, how many sacks does Mykel Williams have to get without Bosa to solidify Defensive Rookie of the Year? I mean, you got to see what the competition's doing. It's not just what Mykel Williams can do. It's how good everyone else is, how good all the other defensive rookies are. I think he's got a chance. If he can get some sacks, 7-8 sacks this year, 6-7-8 sacks, continue to be that force, stopping the run, setting the edge, making plays, getting better every single week on an undefeated football team. Yeah, he's going to get a ton of eyes on him. He's got a chance. He's just got to start putting together numbers, not just pressures. He's got to get tackles for loss. He's got to get sacks. He's got to generate turnovers. He's got to put some numbers up. Now, numbers aren't everything, and I think anyone who knows football understands how important Mykel Williams has been to this team so far. But you got to put up some numbers if you want to win awards like that, for sure. Rick Diaz, man. I see you in the chat, man. Yeah, I'm at the Niner games, man. I'm a season ticket holder. If you ever make it out to Levi's, let me know. I'm always there. Let's see. I think I kind of caught up on everything. Again, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, man. It's been a while since I've been live. For those that weren't here at the top of the stream, I caught a vicious virus coming back from Seattle, and I'm just now kind of getting back to 100%. So I appreciate you guys for sticking with me. Speaking of that week 1 game up in Seattle, and I know it's the past, but I will be putting out a full-length video of my trip up to Seattle. For those of you that have been following this channel for a long time, you know how much I hate Seattle and how important that trip was for me. So I will be having a full-length video at some point from my trip up there in Seattle week 1, and it'll be a good one. It'll be a good video. It'll be worth the wait for sure. Real quick, before we go ahead and get on out of here, because I do want to check out this Monday Night Football game, there are another couple of names that I have my eye on if the 49ers look to make a move to replace Nick Bosa. Kayvon Thibodeau, New York Giants, has been a popular name. Of course, Jalen Phillips from the Miami Dolphins, a guy who is in the last year of his contract, who could be a player that the Niners could get for relatively cheap. Arden Key, former Niner, another name. So there's players out there that the Niners can go after. In the short term, yeah, you're going to see a lot of Mykel Williams, a lot of Bryce Huff, a lot of Sam Okwuonu. But I expect them to make a move. I do. If I'm John Lynch and the 49ers, I'm on the phone right now, because you cannot waste time. You cannot, you can't squander this opportunity that you have. You're 3-0. You're at the top of the NFC West. Like, how the 49ers approach this situation with Nick Bosa's absence is going to tell you a lot about how they feel about this team and where this team is at and how good this team can be this year. If they go out and they make a big swing, that tells you that they feel good about this team and they think they're going to make some noise. But if they go after maybe a lower tier free agent, if they go with some guy in house and don't really make any kind of move, that's concerning to me because I really feel like not only can the 49ers continue to build for the future, even though you're going to be spending a little cap space and you're going to be investing some draft capital in coming seasons, you can still build for the future while trying to contend right now. I truly feel that way. This team is set up in a spot. They have a ton of cap space. They have a ton of draft picks. And they have one of the most favorable schedules in recent memory. This team can do whatever it wants, and it's not going to hurt anything going forward. And at least in my opinion. That's kind of how I feel about this whole situation. I want to see this team make a move. I really do. So with that, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in here on this Monday. I've been wanting to go live. I'm just now kind of feeling back to myself, so I figured I'd come on here and talk about this Nick Bosa news. Absolute gut punch. Just brutal. Brutal way to start your Monday. But this team is 3-0. They have the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. A lot of players are going to start coming back over the coming weeks. Just because Nick Bosa's out doesn't mean the season's over, faithful. This team can still do whatever it wants to do. Does it hurt this team without Nick Bosa? Yeah, obviously. I mean, but I feel like this team can still go out and do whatever they kind of have their mindset to. This team is being coached up very well by Robert Saleh on defense. Kyle Shanahan, he's frustrating me a little bit, but he's also doing some good things given the situation on offense with all the injuries that he's dealing with. But this team is in a good spot, and I don't want to see them squander it. So I want to see them go out and make a move. That's it. That's where I stand on this entire situation. I know a lot of people are saying, no, you gotta follow through and go with the full rebuild and plan for the future and keep your cap space and all your draft capital. They need to make a move. If this team was not 3-0 and didn't show the promise that they have, maybe I would agree that you go in house and you don't make a big swing. But where this team is right now, I think if I'm John Lynch, I'm trying to make some phone calls. So with that, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I will be back very, very soon with more content this week. We are back, so make sure you have your notifications on. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit the like button. Check out our Patreon if you want any behind-the-scenes stuff. I will be posting some more behind-the-scenes content over there. Also, when I do put up my video from the Seahawks game week 1, my Seattle trip week 1, it's going to be seen on Patreon first. So if you want to see it before the rest of YouTube, make sure you sign up on our Patreon because I will be posting it there first before it's on YouTube. So check out patreon.com/keepingthefaith. And as always, keep it locked here. I will be back this week with some more content. And of course, if any big news breaks, I'll be here to talk about it. So I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Faithful, the sky is not falling. We are 3-0. It'll be okay. I promise. I'll see you guys soon.